There's less of a website and there's more of answers. Google Home, Alexa, all those types of things are going to be crushing how much website traffic you get, and people are just going to be getting the answers.
This is Velocitize Talks, and I'm Eric Jones. I'm here with Neil Patel, co-founder of Neil Patel Digital. Tell us a little bit about Neil Patel Digital and the opportunity you saw which led to its creation.
Sure. So we're an ad agency. We help companies grow faster through digital marketing. And the big thing that we're seeing right now in the market space is there's a lot of ad agencies. The market's saturated. The space has been out there for a very long time. But everyone's focusing on tactics like SEO or pay-per-click. Very few people are leveraging things like growth hacking. Very few companies and agencies are leveraging things like funnels and conversion optimization. When you start combining all of it and you can do it really well, companies see crazy fast growth results. And that's what we weren't seeing other agencies do. And we were tired of paying agencies and contractors to help us out when they couldn't figure it out, and we were able to do it better internally.
In fact, that's the subject of your talk later today at South by. In your view, what is critical to being successful on the in digital channels on the web today?
Creativity. If you look at most of startups right now, and even large corporations it's obvious, but they have unlimited pools of budget. When people do marketing, they say, hey, we have this much money to spend each quarter. That's not really the case. If a large corporation can spend $1 and make $3 or $5 or $10 or whatever it is for every dollar they spend, they'll keep spending as much as they can. If you look at startups, they're no longer raising, $1 million, $4 million. Startups now raise 50, 100, and in many cases even $1 billion plus. That money is mainly going towards growth, sales, and marketing. The landscape is competitive. Everyone has no choice but to leverage an omni-channel approach in which you're going after all the major channels. But if everyone's willing to spend money, you're not going to do that well because you're just competing with dollars. It comes down to who's the most creative. If you're super creative and you can think outside the box, that's where you're going to have the edge over your competition.
So let's get a little bit granular in the area of like Adwords, right?
Sure.
You're in a space, there are certain key AdWords. They all get bid up by you and your competitors. What do you do next? How do you approach that problem?
It's even worse than that. Let's say you're in the auto insurance space. You are willing to pay $30 a lead. It costs right now on AdWords maybe $70, $80 a lead. How does that work out? Well, there's people who are willing to spend $90, $100 a lead because they're gonna be an aggregator and they're gonna sell that lead to 6, 7 companies to make the economics work. It's just super expensive. The only way you can make it work is either you're buying the leads from other people or you have a better funnel. So things like upsell, downsell. A good example of this is in the hosting space. Right now, to acquire a user from pay-per-click, in almost all cases, you're gonna lose money unless you add upsells and downsells and you have a funnel and you figured out how to maximize your LTV. So to do well with any form of advertising now, it's not just optimizing the front end, which is what most agencies focus on. It's about optimizing the full funnel, the back end. How do you retain? How do you upsell? How do you downsell? For example, with you guys, your LTV is amazing. I don't necessarily think it's because of upsells and downsells. I haven't bought from you guys in ages, right? I was more so a customer, I don't even know how many years ago, and I've never canceled. But your retention is amazing because of the support. That's my guess on why your LTV works and why you guys can acquire customers while others can't.
You've talked pretty extensively on your blog about how, in social media advertising, almost half of the money is completely wasted. What are some of the most common mistakes that you've seen people make?
People do campaigns like boosting posts, getting page likes, trying to build up their profile, being like, oh my God, look how many comments we have. Well, did those comments convert into revenue? And in most cases, it didn't. Now, a lot of companies are boosting posts. If you're boosting posts to get people to your site, then remarketing them, and then sending them to a landing page that converts them into a customer, great. There's a lot of companies like Digital Marketer here in Austin that do that, and they figured out their funnel. But most companies are like Campbell's Soup, being like, check out our new soup, like, comment. Did it really generate a lot of sales for your new soup? Probably not.
On your site, Neil Patel Digital, you say you have a method for marketers to grow their traffic exponentially and rank higher on Google, in the next 30 days. What is your process with your method?
We always look at the site, see where they are, because doing marketing for General Motors is totally different than doing marketing for a WP Engine. You guys are both big companies, but one has billions of dollars at disposal versus hundreds of million dollars. And doing marketing for a WP Engine is different than doing marketing for a startup that just raised, 10, 20 million. Good example is like Gong, right? A B2B company that'll provide, I don't know, sales software. A lot of times for the smaller companies is things like growing their brand and brand queries. A lot of times it's things like cross-linking and on-page SEO. It also could be link building. Another thing that we do, let's say for a WP Engine, you're already somewhat established. We know words that you can put in title tags and meta tags that'll increase your CTR. And if you think about Google, they care about what the user wants to see. It's not about an algorithm being like, hey, if you have your code like this or more links, we're going to rank you higher. It's all about user metrics. If a user likes something more than another site, they're not bouncing away. They want to ideally rank that site higher. A good example of this is if a site ranks number 2 on Google but gets way more clicks than the site that's ranking above them, what is Google going to do? They're going to put the number 2 site ahead of the number 1. So we can do things like A/B test your title tags and your meta descriptions and make sure that you're getting the most amount of clicks, because we have so much data on what works, we're able to boost people pretty quickly.
I'm kind of curious on Facebook specifically, given Zuckerberg's comments, 2 days ago, that the company's future is privacy focused. What do you think they're going to do to make money with that kind of a focus?
I think their privacy focus is a PR spin. I think they're going to keep doing what they're doing to make money, and it's worked for them, and they're going to keep tightening up their algorithms and making sure if you want the reach, you got to end up paying for it, and they'll keep minting cash that way.
Social media predictions. You had a whole slew of them at the beginning of the year. How do you think you've been doing, and how do you see it playing out over the balance of the year?
Yeah, I think most of them will come true. A good example of this is what works for one site won't necessarily work for the others. They're all going in their own way with algorithm. Video is really important, and if you look at all of them, if you upload video, you do extremely well, because they're all trying to crush television, and they want that mind share. And if you look at even some of them, eventually they're going to start integrating more into television, right? Your box set or whatever you want to call it, your Samsung TV, and they're going to even start being, instead of your cable box or Netflix, it'll be YouTube, or it'll be Facebook, or whatever it may be. I believe, didn't Facebook end up inking a deal with the NFL? I could be wrong on this. It was something like that.
Well, Amazon definitely did. I don't know if Facebook did.
Yeah, it was one of them, right? One of these giant tech companies. It could have been Amazon. But yeah, they're going to all fight for mindshare. You're also going to start seeing certain things with these social sites in which they're getting more sophisticated, being like, we've done a lot of tests on this. At the beginning, if you got a lot of likes or shares, it'd be like, oh, cool, people love this. Now, it doesn't take much to click a like button or click a share button. Then eventually it moved to comments. And most of these social sites in which if you got more comments and engagements, you did extremely well. And that's the key to most of these social sites. Got even more sophisticated now with if the comments are useless comments like no, yes, something basic and you're gaming the system, it doesn't hold much more weight. They're looking for thoughtful responses and true engagement.
You talked about video, the importance of video on sites and things like that, and yet paradoxically, you've also warned that, just slapping a YouTube video on your site may actually not be better for engagement.
Yeah.
I wonder if you could talk through, the situations when that might be the case.
So Google has user metrics in which when someone comes to your site, if they stay there longer, they don't bounce away, more page views per visitor, all those metrics, in theory, you should rank higher because the user likes what you see. So people right now are just taking YouTube videos, their own or anyone's, and just slapping it everywhere on their content, their blog posts, whatever it may be, being like, oh, let me increase my time on site by just embedding videos and making them play. Well, if that video isn't adding value, if it's not creating relevancy, you're not going to do well. If that video is from your competitor or someone else, you're building their brand, you're not building your own brand.
Why do you think we seem to be pegged in that sort of 1/4 to 1/3 viewing of a video, regardless of length?
Well, just look at who we are as a society. We all have ADD. We have our smartphones with tons of apps, and we're going around, and you can be in a restaurant or on a date with your wife, and people still pull out their phones. That's just how we are. We don't pay attention to one thing. They say a human has lower attention span than a goldfish. And it's not to say humans are dumb or there's anything wrong with us. It's just we all have our own versions of ADD. I'm not saying everyone needs to be on ADD medication, but society and the device and technology has made it where we go and try to do 5 or 10 things at once.
As you put your kind of futurist hat on, what do you think the website looks like 5 years down the road?
There's less of a website and there's more of answers. Google Home, Alexa, all those types of things are going to be crushing how much website traffic you get, and people are just going to be getting the answers. We just talked about the ADD that people have. If you can just give someone the answer right away, think of voice search, people are going to be much more satisfied. According to ComScore, by 2020, half the searches will be voice search.
The voice is such an interesting area right now. How do you think about branding on a voice shelf?
Branding stuff, and I don't know how brand is going to be leveraged on voice search. I do believe the people who dominate search right now will take up most of the voice search. Reason being is Google has more data than anyone else that I know. So they're going to be, my guess is, filling up most of the voice search queries. And eventually, hopefully, they do things like, this result is brought you by X, Y, and Z. I don't know what the future is going to hold right now. And I think websites in general aren't going to be that important. And even with the branding, how they play into it, I think it's going to be a lot of it's pay for play. Because it's going to get a point where all these devices are connected to even things like your fridge now or your oven. Google Home can literally connect to some ovens. And they can even do things like, oh, you're making a cake. Check out this recipe by Pillsbury. It's rated a 9.9 out of 10 by 6,321 people. Here's ideal recipe you should do when making cake. Or even your fridge. Oh, you're out of milk now. Have you ever thought about buying Organic Valley milk? It tastes the same and it's 50% cheaper.
Talking about answers we all want to have, one of the things that is sort of a timeless question in among all companies, startups and big companies alike, is how much money to devote to marketing spend. You have a whole theory on that. Wondered if you could share that.
My theory with marketing spend for most companies, they should invest as long as it's profitable, whether it's their LTV or front end, whatever their funnel looks like. If they can make $2 from every visitor and it costs them $1, keep pouring it in. I believe at the end of the day, it's going to be a media company race. Even if you're a WP engine, you're a hosting company, whoever controls the most eyeballs is going to win in the long run. Doesn't matter what kind of business you're in. So I'm a big believer, as long as it's profitable, keep spending. Now, if you have the budget and you can weed out your competition, I would just keep burning more and more until I crush most of them, take up most of the market share, and then worry about profitability later on.
One of the questions we love asking is a book that you'd like to recommend to our viewers other than your own.
Sure. So people don't talk about this book much more. They used to years and years ago, but I still think it's very relevant for marketers and entrepreneurs even today. It's called Lean Startup by Eric Ries. The reason I say that is with companies raising so much money, and especially using it for marketing or growing their business or development, whatever it may be, companies are getting very bloated and they're just cranking stuff out instead of thinking about customers again and being lean and efficient and agile.
That was awesome. Thanks, Neil.
Thanks for having me.
That was Neil Patel, co-founder of Neil Patel Digital.